So what are some really great performances that won a Golden Globe Award that did not receive an Oscar nomination? Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender. This is going to be a fun one today, talking about some really wonderful performances that got in at the Golden Globes that won. And then the Oscars, the Academy, they said, no thanks, we're not giving you a nomination. You look back all these years and decades later and you're like, what? How did that win the Golden Globe and then not even get the Oscar nomination? You might think there's not very many examples of this, but especially with the comedy or musical category at the Globes, there are tons, guys. I had about 25 for this list. I narrowed it down to 10. These are the 10 I think are really egregious snubs at the Oscars that won at the Golden Globes. Let's begin with number 10, Taron Egerton, Rocket Man.
This role has changed my life. It's been the best experience of my life. I am so proud of the film.
So this one really pisses me off because a year before, Rami Malek wins the Golden Globe and SAG and BAFTA and the Oscar for the musical biopic Bohemian Rhapsody, which was not one of my favorite movies of that year. This is not one of my favorite performances. I didn't think he deserved to win the Oscar. But then a year later, 2019, we get Rocket Man. Taron Egerton is amazing in that movie as Elton John, and I walked out of that theater like, okay, he's definitely getting an Oscar nomination. Maybe he could even win. We'll see. And he wins at the Golden Globes in comedy or musical. He gets that. Like over Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He gets in at SAG. It's looking pretty good that Taron Egerton is going to receive the Oscar nomination, but then he misses. He was probably in 6th place, guys. I bet he got really close, especially winning at the Globes and getting in at SAG. He was close, and it just pisses me off because I think this is a better performance than Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody. Malek wins at the Oscars. Egerton doesn't even get the nomination. So that one's always bugged me. I look at the category, it's pretty strong at the Oscars, Best Actor 2019. But I mean, this might just be me, you might have a different person. I would take out Jonathan Pryce, The Two Popes. He's good in that film. I saw it the one time, but it wasn't overly memorable. I don't think he had to get the Oscar nomination. I think his slot should have gone to Taron Egerton for Rocket Man. Number 9, Awkwafina, The Farewell.
I'd like to dedicate this to my dad, Wally. I told you I'd get a job, Dad. And
So 2019 again, the same year Egerton wins the Golden Globe and Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical. Awkwafina wins Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical. And I thought, maybe she'll get the Oscar nomination. She is divine in that movie. It's a wonderful comedic and dramatic performance. I think The Farewell was a really special film in 2019. She showed up a few more places, but on Oscar nominations morning, it wasn't looking likely that she would get in. She indeed missed, and so here we have 2 wonderful performances in the movies that year, Egerton in Rocket Man and Awkwafina in The Farewell, and they both win at the Globes, like this big prize early in the season, and then they don't even get the Oscar nomination. That just doesn't feel right to me. Who would I take out? It would be Charlize Theron for Bombshell. She's pretty good in that. She's transformative as Megyn Kelly, but she did need to get the Oscar nomination. I think Awkwafina should have taken her slot for The Farewell. Number 8, Albert Finney, Scrooge.
It's wonderful. I've never tasted anything like it.
So this one is wild to me. I can't believe Albert Finney did not get an Oscar nomination for playing Ebenezer Scrooge in that 1970 musical adaptation of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Obviously, that story has resulted in many adaptations throughout the decades. One of the very best, I think, is Scrooge from 1970. I didn't see it until a few years back, and I really loved it. It's a lot of fun, very flashy and colorful, and right at the center of that thing, Albert Finney is giving one of the very best interpretations of Ebenezer Scrooge on film. It is a wonderful performance. I was so thrilled to learn he won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy. He won that, so well deserved, and then he doesn't get the Oscar nomination for Best Actor? Are you kidding me? I mean, that was really surprising to me back in that era of a lot of musicals being made, a lot of musicals getting in at the Oscars. Like, this is just 1 year before Fiddler on the Roof does very well at the Oscars and, you know, a bunch at the end of the 60s, early 70s. Scrooge, I think, is one of the best musicals around that time. And it got in at the Oscars, like a couple nominations, but it doesn't get into Best Actor for Finney. And it's like, how did that happen, especially since he won the Golden Globe? It's just really odd to me. That should have happened, especially since the Academy really loved Albert Finney. He got 5 nominations throughout his career. A nomination for Scrooge should have been one of them. Who would I take out at the Oscars for that year to include Finney? It would be Melvin Douglas, I Never Sang for My Father. Not because he gives a bad or mediocre performance, he's very good in that film, but that is a supporting performance, not a lead one. I think he should have been nominated for that movie in Best Supporting Actor. He doesn't belong in lead actor for that movie, so I would take out Melvin Douglas and replace him with Albert Finney for Scrooge. Number 7, Jamie Lee Curtis, True Lies.
I'm telling you, I pulled out my daughter's good luck note literally right before they read the thing. I'm serious. It says True Lies Mom. I'm telling you.
I know Jamie Lee Curtis is an Oscar-winning actress. She won an Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think her Oscar win should have been for True Lies, 1994. That is her best performance in the movies. She is absolutely spectacular in that action film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. She is so funny, so sexy, taking chances, you know, shows up for the action moments, and really gives it her all. Her character has this amazing arc throughout the film, and I just really love that performance from Jamie Lee Curtis. She should have gotten in at the Oscars for sure. She won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy. I always laugh about that category that night because she wins, she's there, she gives a fantastic speech, but the other 4 nominees in the category are all absent, you know? None of the other ones are even there in the room. It's like they all knew Jamie Lee Curtis was winning this. Like, they were like, oh yeah, that's going to Curtis. It did. I remember on the night, I'm old enough to remember when she won that, I said, oh my God, Jamie Lee Curtis is coming for her first Oscar nomination, and it's going to be for a Schwarzenegger action film. Awesome. You know, that would have been one of the coolest things the Academy did throughout the entire 1990s, but no. They had to snub Curtis to include Susan Sarandon in The Client. You know, that summer John Grisham adaptation, Potboiler, that, you know, nobody really talks about anymore. What a much better Oscar nomination Jamie Lee Curtis would have been that year in Best Actress. That would have been an all-timer. She didn't have to win the Oscar, but a nomination? Hell yes. I would take out Susan Sarandon in The Client in a heartbeat and replace her with Jamie Lee Curtis in True Lies. Number 6, Robin Williams, Mrs. Doubtfire.
I feel like I'm channeling now.
Ooh, great.
Should we just hold on? I have a list here. I guess I am happy to be here.
Oh my God, how I love Robin Williams' performance in 1993's Mrs. Doubtfire. That is one of his very best turns in a movie of all time. He got 4 Oscar nominations in his long career. He, of course, won for Good Will Hunting, 1997. It would have been really cool, I think, if he had had 5 Oscar nominations throughout his career. I think the 5th one should have been Mrs. Doubtfire. That was a smash hit with audiences. Most of the critics liked it too. It came out in November of 93, so it was fresh in awards voters' minds as we entered early 94. He gets in at the Globes and he wins Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical, as he should have. You know, he seemed a shoo-in for that prize. He won. And then at the Oscars, man, they are like anti-comedy that year. They really are. They could have nominated Joan Cusack in Best Supporting Actress for Addams Family Values. They didn't do it. They could have nominated Robin Williams in Best Actor for Mrs. Doubtfire. Now, I would say more so than any other person in this video I'm talking about, this category is tough. Like, who do we take out in Best Actor for 93? I remember I did make a video many months ago where I suggested Williams should have gotten in for Mrs. Doubtfire at the Oscars. And I said, well, let's take out Anthony Hopkins for the remains of the day. Let's just take him out. He had just won for Silence of the Lambs. He gets in again a couple more times in the 90s. He doesn't need that nomination for the remains of the day. And I got attacked, man. People came at me in the comments. They were like, what? No. Do not, under any circumstances, take out Anthony Hopkins. All right, fine. So I won't do that here. So, sorry, Daniel Day-Lewis. I guess I have to take him out for In the Name of the Father. I do think that is his weakest nomination. If I had to take one out for Day-Lewis, it would be that one. So, I don't think anyone would be overly upset about me removing Day-Lewis, unless you are and you're going to attack me in the comments. Go right ahead. But yeah, I will take out Daniel Day-Lewis in The Name of the Father and replace him with Robin Williams for his bonkers brilliant performance in Mrs. Doubtfire. Number 5, Nicole Kidman, To Die For.
And everybody else, no, anyone who's ever been nice to me, no.
Here is another phenomenal performance, Nicole Kidman and Gus Van Sant's To Die For, 1995. One of the most original creations of that year, and Nicole Kidman, this really put her on the map as a dynamite actress. She had been good in some things leading up to Die For. She's great in Dead Calm and Billy Bathgate, and she's good in certain things. But To Die For is when we all sat up and took notice and said, holy shit. Nicole Kidman is amazing. I'm so happy she got the Golden Globe nomination and that she won Best Actress in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. She gets up there, Tom Cruise smiling from his table, right? She's very cute and bubbly and thankful for this prize. And I remember watching that too on the night and saying, oh my God, Nicole Kidman's gonna get an Oscar nomination, that's great. And then it didn't happen, and it felt kind of weird. It seems like she should be there. Now, as I was just talking about with Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire, sometimes the Oscar category is just very crowded and there isn't room. Here again is an example of that. Best Actress 1995. That's one of my favorite Best Actress lineups of all time. All 5 of those are deserving. They should all be there. It's like, well, who do we take out to include Kidman? It's tricky. I still think that Kidman should be in there, and then it would be a truly incredible lineup, even better than the one we got. If I had to remove someone, don't get mad at me. You've probably already gotten mad at me in this video for removing Day-Lewis. I would take out Emma Thompson in Sense and Sensibility because she wins an Oscar that night in Best Adapted Screenplay. She wins in a different category for that movie. So in that regard, I'm like, well, she doesn't have to also get into actress because she's winning too. That's my logic. I hope it's okay with you. I would take out Emma Thompson for Sense and Sensibility and Best Actress at the Oscars 1995 and replace her with Nicole Kidman in To Die For. Number 4, Gene Hackman, The Royal Tenenbaums.
My God, I haven't been in here for years.
Hey! Are you listening to me?
Yes, I am!
Now this might be a Golden Globe win you don't remember because Gene Hackman wasn't there when he won the Golden Globe and Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy for Wes Anderson's The Royal Tenenbaums. He was not there, he didn't give a speech, and so it's kind of been forgotten even though the strength of that film just continues to grow over the years and decades. That's still my favorite Wes Anderson movie. I watch it all the time. It's so wonderful in a variety of ways. My favorite thing about The Royal Tenenbaums is Gene Hackman's performance. It's one of his best in his long career. This would have been a really cool final Oscar nomination for him. He was nominated 5 times, he won twice. I think he should have gotten one more Oscar nomination at the very end of his career. The Royal Tenenbaums was the one to do it. He won at the Globe, so he had to be in the conversation, right? For an Oscar nomination, the Academy had to be considering him. The movie gets into screenplay, so it gets in there. Why can't it get into Best Actor? Now, I've struggled in this video a couple times, like who do I remove from the category? It's a pretty spectacular lineup of 5 nominees at the Oscars. That's not the case this year. 2001, I would in a heartbeat remove Sean Penn for I Am Sam, which I think is the worst acting Oscar nomination of the entire decade. That's the worst one. And it's like, why did we have to include him for that movie? Like, that was just ridiculous. It did not need to happen. Gene Hackman for The Royal Tenenbaums would have been such a better nomination in that category that year. And especially because he won at the Globes. It's like, Academy, what are you doing? Let's take out Sean Penn for I Am Sam and replace him with Gene Hackman for his glorious performance in The Royal Tenenbaums. Number 3, Marilyn Monroe, Some Like It Hot.
It's okay, I was scared it was sweet soup. You won't tell anybody, will you?
Tell what?
Well, if they catch me once more, they're gonna kick me out of the band.
So every Golden Globe win I'm talking about in this video, I knew about. Like, for years, I've known about them, except this one. I did not know until doing my research a few hours ago that Marilyn Monroe won the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy for Some Like It Hot, directed by Billy Wilder. I think that is so inspired. I adore her performance in that. Even though I have read that her performance in that movie is very much pieced together, that they would take a piece of this line, a piece of that line, and it's all seamless through the editing. It's not like every day she came fully prepared, all of her lines memorized, every take was just like a masterclass in acting. But at the end of the day, who cares? All that we see is the performance on film, and what you see in Some Like It Hot is an amazing comedic performance by Marilyn Monroe. She never got an Oscar nomination. I think she probably came closest for Some Like It Hot. You could argue she's more supporting in that than lead, so maybe there was category confusion. Jack Lemmon got a Best Actor nomination at the Oscars for Some Like It Hot. I have always loved that. I think that's one of the very best comedic performances recognized at the Academy Awards. Marilyn Monroe should have gotten in too. She wins at the Globes. It's like she had to have been up for consideration. You look at Best Actress 1959, and there is room there. There's at least 2 performances you could probably take out, and nobody would care today. Now, again, I might frustrate you with my choice. I would remove Katharine Hepburn for Suddenly Last Summer. She's very good in that, as she is in everything, but there's 2 Oscar nominations for Katharine Hepburn I don't think need to exist. One is 1956's The Rainmaker, the other one is 1959's Suddenly Last Summer. I think that's more Elizabeth Taylor's movie than it is Katharine Hepburn's. Taylor should be in Best Actress at the Oscars. She is. We don't also need Katharine Hepburn in the category with her. That's just my feeling. I would take out Katharine Hepburn for Suddenly Last Summer. I think she'd be okay with that. I mean, she wins Best Actress at the Oscars 4 times, you know. She could do without 1 or 2 of her Oscar nominations. I would take her out and replace her with Marilyn Monroe, give that one and only icon an Oscar nomination. Number 2, Jim Carrey, The Truman Show.
This is serious. It's going to be so hard to talk out of my ass after this.
So this Oscar snub I have talked about a lot on my channel. This is one of the few snubs that really bothers me, that I think just shouldn't have happened. Jim Carrey didn't need to win the Oscar for The Truman Show, 1998, directed by Peter Weir. He didn't have to win, but he absolutely should have gotten into Best Actor at the Academy Awards for that performance. I mean, the movie gets into Best Director, it gets into Best Supporting Actor, it gets into Screenplay. Jim Carrey is the heart of that movie. He is the film, right? And he won Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama at the Golden Globes. I remember that moment so vividly. That was incredible. Jim Carrey, one of my favorite actors of the 90s, who had only really done comedy up until then. Nobody thought Jim Carrey was going to win a major prize in acting for a drama, right? Like, that was not on our bingo cards. It happened. It was an amazing moment. One of my favorite Globe speeches of all time. It's so good. And then the Academy is like, no thanks. You're Jim Carrey. We're not giving you an Oscar nomination for Best Actor. And it just makes me seethe, you guys. I get so mad about that because I do think it was the baggage of him being Jim Carrey that prevented him from getting in at the Oscars. You look at the history of Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama at the Globes, and all of those winners, pretty much all of them get in at the Oscars. Many of them win. And so you looked like through the decades at all of these winners and nominees and stuff, and then there's Jim Carrey, who's like kind of alone on an island. One of the very few people who has won that prize at the Globes and then didn't get in at the Oscars. And it just pisses me off. It's so enraging. Thankfully, he poked fun at himself at the Oscars that night, presenting Best Film Editing. He gives a very funny speech.
Winning the Oscar is not the most important thing in the world. It's an honor just to be Oh, God.
He should have gotten in 100% for The Truman Show. I think that should have happened. And as I've talked about before on this channel, I would remove the winner that year, Roberto Benigni in Life is Beautiful. Like, his movie wins Best Foreign Language Film, and he could have had his moment there. He did not need to win Best Actor. He didn't need to get that nomination. I would take out Benigni for Life is Beautiful and replace him with Jim Carrey for The Truman Show. And finally, that takes me to my number one choice. What do I think is the best performance that's ever won a Golden Globe Award that did not get in at the Oscars, did not get an Oscar nomination? I could have gone with Jim Carrey. I almost picked him for number one, but I have decided instead to go with Kate Winslet, Revolutionary Road.
Well done, Leo. I'm so happy I can stand here and tell you how much I love you and how much I've loved you for 13 years.
I do think this is probably the most spectacular, dramatic performance that is won at the Globes that didn't get an Oscar nomination. Kate Winslet in Revolutionary Road from 2008, also starring Leonardo DiCaprio and directed by her then husband, Sam Mendes. She is on fire in that movie, one scene after another. Those moments of rage, those moments where she's just quietly thinking, she's about to explode at him. She is frustrated as hell. It's such a deep and complex performance. It's really one of her best performances on film. Now, what happened was, I'm sure many of you know, The Reader also came out that same year, that same month, December of 2008. She had two dramatic performances kind of battling it out come award season. They decided to have The Reader go supporting and Revolutionary Road go lead. So at the Globes, she wins two prizes that night, lead actress for Revolutionary Road and supporting actress for The Reader. And then on Oscar nominations morning, the Academy did this kooky thing. They decided to bump up Kate Winslet in The Reader to lead actress, and so she's not nominated there for Revolutionary Road. You can't be nominated twice in a single acting category. The Academy has that rule, so in Best Actress, she can only be nominated for one or the other. They chose The Reader, which in retrospect was probably the right call because The Reader got into Best Picture and Best Director. It did very well at the Oscars. So The Reader seemed to be the movie that could guarantee Kate Winslet a win in Best Actress over Revolutionary Road. Maybe she would have lost the Oscar if she had gotten in for Revolutionary Road. We'll never know. But I personally prefer her performance in Sam Mendes' film. I think that's the more affecting dramatic performance. That's the one I think about more today than her performance in The Reader. I don't know about you. So it is kind of a complicated situation, that was kind of a once-in-a-lifetime situation. Someone that talented, that good, who put out two dramatic performances at the end of the year that were both a part of the awards conversation. And at the Oscars, they kind of had to decide on one or the other, I guess. They went with The Reader. I would go with Revolutionary Road. And so, in Best Actress 2008 at the Oscars, I would take out Kate Winslet in The Reader and replace her with herself for Revolutionary Road. I adore her performance in that movie through and through. I am so happy she won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama for Revolutionary Road. I do think that's the best performance that's ever won at the Globes that did not receive an Oscar nomination.